Alright, we continue. I felt like I was a bit low energy in the first game. That was pretty hype, you know, HQ beating SK Telecom. It was kind of a boring game, not a lot of things happening. And I felt like there was a problem because Mountain was always a step ahead of Peanut. Like, Peanut got out jungled, man. It's time to sub him blank. But now we move on to EDG versus Cloud9. Now this is exciting. You know, the Edward Gaming scoreline doesn't tell the full story. You know, EDG, they have been ahead in a lot of the games, been ahead super far ahead, like crazy far ahead, and then they just, they just collapse. Scout gets caught, he dies randomly, or something terrible just happens, like a 4-man Oriana Shockwave into the enemy team has a better late game and we just lose. And against HQ, it was a similar thing. You know, they ran into that. You know, they were playing this Kog'Maw that was super far ahead, and you know, they've had a lot of issues in the mid to late game, and that is strange. You know, EDG by all these people, you know, behind the scene, the analysts from LPL, they're saying EDG, they are the team that is smarter than everyone in LPL. They have the decision making, and to be honest, you know, World Elite and RNG look a lot better, even though EDG got first place. You know, RNG in their final against EDG, I felt like they just heavily into draft. Like, they won a game with Ezreal, and then they played Ezreal again, and that was just, like, they just heavily into draft. And I'm hoping EDG go with a different approach. Let's hope that they pick something else than just Lucian. We'll see the Ezreal ban targeted towards C9. Ooh, LeBlanc ban as well. I was kind of hoping the Scout would play LeBlanc himself because it's been quite hyped up. Cloud9 should be banning Jarvan next, I assume, unless they're willing to pick it. Contract has been more of the range jungler player. You know, Ezreal's out, which maybe would prompt him to. Oh, that's a yawn. That's a big ass yawn. Like Jensen, he's tired of this Western shit. Look at him. That's insane, man. It's all good, man. It's all good. Just shake it off, Jensen. You look tired, my boy. You look tired, man. Come on. Xayah ban on blue side. Seems like EDG need to think about the potential option here of first picking a support. We saw Janna first pick the last game. I think Lulu can also do great things, but alright, Jarvan is the hover right now. C9 have a priority now on picking their AD and support. Kog'Maw has been the go-to AD in a lot of cases. Kog'Maw Janna is a good thing to pick into Jarvan. Can peel him and keep him alive. And to be honest, if we base facts off of last game, then, you know, it seems to have a good lane as well. You know, if it can go even against Varus and Lulu, and that's SK Telecom's bot lane, then, you know, you have to take this into consideration. I feel like they should leave jungle pick for later. Pick up the undercover brother in the shape of Kog'Maw. There we go. Reaper just had to convince Sneaky. He's like, dude, pick Kog'Maw, bro. Gotta pick that Kog'Maw. Lock it in, clock it in. EDG now, most likely will pick their full bot lane in the shape of Lulu and like Tristana. Oh, that works too. That works too, definitely. But Lulu has to be the pickup that they go for. Question is now, if C9 ban Twitch and Tristana, will EDG just go for the Varus? It's a different case, right? Because EDG right here, they have like this big heavy front line. The insane part about this is that even though they have Jarvan and Galio in the same team, the flex still remains because they're flexing with a third role, which is jungle, right? So C9 picking the jungle Graves, all right? You know, I'm not too hyped on Graves. Like, they won a game with Graves, but I am not too hyped on Graves. Graves has to create so much pressure in the early game for it to be worth it. And in some cases, he can. Sure, he can E out of a lot of shit here, like the Galio CC and the Jarvan, but as a jungler, he doesn't provide so much to his team. The damage he does is really unnecessary, and if you compare him to, for example, a Gragas, then you're just comparing in terms of utility, and Usually utility is better coming from the jungle role because you can kind of put more value in where the gold is. So if Kog'Maw has the gold and he has CS, and he CS the entire game, and you can elevate that gold lead, or not that gold lead, but that gold value, then it's a lot better as a pick because Graves needs a lot of items of his own to be in like a carry position, etc, etc. C9, let's see what the second ban is, if it is Tristana or if they're going to just leave it. We saw, now we have the exact same bans as last time. Interesting. I want to know the reasoning behind why teams are banning Syndra every game. Let's see now if EDG, EDG are not in a position to pick a Lucian, that's for sure, right? They would have to have Jarvan jungle, Galio, and they would lack too much damage. So this time around, EDG will definitely play a different mid laner, not that Lucian, because Lucian just doesn't have a place here. C9 as a team have been playing a lot of tanks top lane, and there is a possibility for them to last pick mid. Impact's pick is not going to change that much. Could be a scenario as well where they counter the Cho'Gath here, put Galio into mid lane and put Jarvan in the jungle. Tristana is the pickup, no Varus this time, I kind of like it a lot more. I don't know about this one. Lucian is not that nice. Whoa. Is Vayne gonna get picked? Okay, that's the Maokai. So it's a Galio mid lane blind. We have the Jarvan in the jungle, Maokai top, and then Tristana hopefully last year. Oh. Man. He's trolling us. Okay, could be okay, but I'm not too big of a fan. Caitlyn is the pick. Alright. So all in all, like EDG have a very powerful early game composition here. They have the Galio will most likely have priority against anything that C9 will throw against them. I think C9 don't have the room to pick Lucian into the Galio here. Let's see what they pick. They're playing as triple tank, so anything that can buy Liandry's Torment is going to be very happy here. Anything that can buy Voidstaff third and just be happy about it, and Liandry's can deal with these tanks, because it's all about killing the front line now. Like anything that is a tank killer, like Malzahar would be, like I would love Malzahar right here. If they picked Malzahar, I would be so happy. Like Malzahar would be insane. Like Malzahar is a good matchup in Galio, and it also he's so good at killing tanks. He's so good at killing tanks. He just applies his spells to the front line, ults, has the percentage damage. I think Malzahar would have been the juiciest pick of all time right here. But Ryze, I don't know. Like Ryze has a fine matchup in Galio. He can deal with tanks as well in his own way, but not quite a Liandry's Torment way as others. The main thing here as well with Ryze, I feel like Ryze can't really do much into the Kate. So we'll have to see, this is definitely like a party for Kog'Maw. Kog'Maw needs to be in a good state in this game, and I feel like EDG definitely have the better early game combo. So it's all about Contracts trying to create some lead. If Contracts can control clear love early on, then EDG is not going to have like the same amount of pressure that they want to have. But Galio should definitely pressure the Ryze early on. Not pressure the Ryze specifically, but be able to push the lane early on. And then Caitlyn and Lulu should be able to push the lane bottom early on. Like if Caitlyn and Lulu end up even in this lane phase, then it's going to be bad for them. But if EDG plays this out well, I feel like they can secure themselves the first tower and potentially make some plays together with the Jarvan and the Galio. I think a huge power spike for Jarvan Galio is going to be that level 6 when they can commit in the enemy jungle for some fights and Galio can respond with his ultimate. Graves is going to look for some invades early on. I think I wouldn't be surprised if C9 just like level 1 invade and try to catch some buffs, because Graves needs to push his advantage to that limit, because he has a range advantage and he needs to go for it as hard as possible. We can see EDG walking out here together out on the lanes, or I don't know where they're going to camp. 3 people in the bushy, nobody up top side. Impact is face checking, and right now just because Impact is allowed to face check here up top, Most likely C9 know that EDG have kind of the potential to be stacked up because no one is topside. And C9 are very quick to respond to the enemy invade by just going into topside themselves. It's going to be interesting to see if EDG are deciding to do anything here level 1 by starting on enemy blue. C9 could do the same. Yeah, EDG are just starting here in enemy blue. I think it's a good thing, you know. They don't have time to invade their top side and check their top side. So in the event of the enemy jungler starting at their own blue, they have that covered, right? And Janna Kog'Maw are really weak level 1, so they can't really stop it. So it's a very clean and smooth play. Also, like, Clearlove has enough vision to work with here, and now it comes down to Contract's decision to invade the enemy blue buff. And it seems like an easy decision to make. If Jarvan was starting bottom side, then Jarvan wouldn't be on time here, and Contract also has his smite in that case. He also his ward just elapsed. You can make the judgment call by Jarvan not being spotted on that ward by like 2 minutes and 10 or something near that, and then you know for a fact that Jarvan is not doing the clear where he takes red buff into blue into top. But right now Jarvan took all topside camps, and Contracts is committing to do the same because he's assuming that Clearlove is doing the same, and the jungle situation is quite even. So it's very good, you know, for EDG. Usually what people want to do with Graves is do some early invades and do some early fights, and dividing the map in half like this, where EDG start on the enemy jungle side, and the map is pretty much like Moses just did this. It's split in half, and this is EDG side, and top side is C9 side. It's very positive for them, very, very positive, because EDG want to play into bottom, and ganking the Maokai early on is quite hard with Graves and Cho'Gath. There's no hard CC there, and the Q needs to land, and it's a hard thing to do on a Maokai. But right now Maokai is under a lot of heavy pressure, so maybe C9 could set up like a dive situation. You can see that EDG have a small XP advantage here, but that's only because Clearlove did more camps than Contracts. He's going to do his golems, and then they're going to be even again. The flash on Galio is very important, because setting up a route for Ryze is very, very easy. That is like one of the weaknesses of Galio here, is that he can never run cleanse. He has to run TP, right? Otherwise, you know, he runs into other problems that TP solves for him. So rooting Ryze, rooting the Galio, and setting up another play is going to be very easy. So C9 should just keep playing through mid lane here, and try to alleviate pressure from the bottom lane. I'm sure EDG already got some hits onto the bottom tower, which should be the goal for them for sure. Impact is pushing quite far up, and from this position Impact is gonna be in trouble. Maokai can maybe latch onto him, maybe with a flash, but seems unreasonable to do. Mouse didn't need to flash. Good EQ from Clearlove forcing the Impact flash, and they should be happy with that, you know. Eventually, if Clearlove ganks with his ultimate, it's going to matter so much. They have a lot of time on the clock. Contract's doing some risky business. He's looking for that Clearlove. Like, if Contracts is going to win this most likely, even in the case where Clearlove has the red buff, but it just seems like such an insignificant kind of situation here. Good trading down bottom. We have Warlords, Bloodlords on both ADs, so the HP is not going to matter that much, but Snaky, no mana is going to be a problem. Eyeboy does in fact have enough mana to stay. Oh, there's a smite that is kind of late. Oh! Holy moly. Now that hurts so much, because it's so important that Contracts gets ahead, and this could be like the big differential here for being ahead and not ahead. Oh, oh, okay, okay. Still though, like Krylov is slightly ahead. So by contract going back and take his own jungle camps, but he's pretty far from it, and maybe even Krylov could end up being ahead here. Like if Krylov decides to go for the invade onto these camps and take help from his bottom, then he can even get even further ahead. Because as long as Contract is not taking his own jungle camps, then Krylov is ahead. What does damage R? I don't know what the stat is. Like Ibo has been playing insane. You know, it's really sad that EDG is 0-3, but Ibo has been playing out of his mind. I'm gonna be honest, like the 80s from China this year are absolutely crazy, man. They are really, really good. Kog'Maw has been in base, and EDG need to follow up with the same. The base for Kog'Maw is not that bad, and Mako is just trying to cancel the freeze. Seems like an easy enough task to do. I want to just pay attention here to what Javan is doing. He just goes for the wards and then doesn't clear any camps, so Contracts just gets those camps we talked about. The main issue here is that you know, EDG, they didn't necessarily base, so they're not that strong to pressure into the enemy jungle. I feel like Krylov wasted a bit of time here. Like if he coordinates with his bottom and knows the fact that his bot lane is going to base, you can see Krylov is doing blue buff right here, but we don't get to see a camera at it. Like we don't get to see anything, so that's kind of sad. But Contracts manages to secure the blue buff. You can see that he is the one that gets double 6, and Krylov is taking an unnecessary risk here and loses out on the blue buff. Like he didn't have smite, you know, he's doing the blue buff right now and he doesn't have smite. Maybe his assumption is that Contracts is doing his own red buff right now, and he's doing the clear where the map is divided. But Contract doesn't need to do his top side camps because he knows the only camps that are in trouble are the bot side ones, because he has a vision in the bot side, top side river, and Krylov, like he knew Krylov was pathing into bottom after the fight on Wolves. So Contracts needed to just defend his own camps, and Krylov is just gambling here that Contracts is doing his red. But I think it's a poor gamble. It's a poor gamble. Like looking at the situation and the information that Contracts had, then you know, it is not the greatest gamble. Like sure, in a case where EDG's bot lane were in base already and they could have stayed and they could have pressured into the blue, then it would have been fine. But the base from EDG is so much more important than the actual blue buff. Is the Jensen Yon. I think I would have preferred a lot more if Krylov just continued to do his jungle camps and continue playing his own game. So Impact is doing a massive job up top. He's maintaining push. He's 24 CS ahead. The mouse meme is still alive and well. While Contract secure his own blue, like Krylov was quite low after that, and Contract knows exactly when the enemy blue buff is spawning. The main thing here is that Krylov started at enemy blue, and Contracts did enemy blue after red. So the spawn times here are definitely in favor of C9's play, and Krylov flashing away and running off to the bottom side of the map gives Graves kind of the free decision to go into the enemy blue buff. He knows Javan is bot side and he knows he's going to be first in this position. He also knows that Impact is playing around top side and like playing around top side well and creating a lot of pressure for himself. It's all about Sneaky now surviving in the bot lane, and as long as they can do this and maintain the pressure on sides, then they don't look too unhealthy into the game. EDG is about to come online though with the Javan level 6, and maybe through the Gali ultimate they can create some pressure back. C9 should just keep playing through mid lane though. Scouts flash is coming up now of cooldown. We'll just have to see here how much EDG can push in the bottom at the same time. Clear up also level 6 now. He's slightly behind on XP. Contracts might reach level 7 after these golems. Yes, he does. Okay. Shouldn't matter too much. He has the red smite for the battle. So the main issue here is that when jungles run red smite and supports rush ardent sensor, then you know the main issue is that there's going to be a severe lack of wards, and wards are quite clutch here against the Graves. Jensen now in mid lane is getting pushed in all the way. You see Jensen, he was in fact in base and Galio base first, so he has this priority. Like Jensen was doing the blue buff while Galio was in base and doing things. So right now Ryze is at a disadvantage. EDG are trying to make use of the play and the pressure they have in bottom. Caitlyn turret is very low. Scout is going for that flash. Nice ulti from Smoothie, but it's not good enough. Not good enough. TP from Impact, TP from Maokai, doesn't matter. TP is gonna fall, Tower's gonna fall, and EDG pull off a phenomenal play here. The big issue here is that Ryze base second, and in a situation where he base first, you know, the difference would be like Galio could have made the play on that wave, but you know, right here you'll see, if you go back even further, like Galio is recalling right now because Ryze did the blue buff, and then Jensen recalls on the next wave. And just because he recalls on the next wave, Galio has priority on the next one. Like Galio is already out and about, and Ryze is recalling. And then EDG have this pressure from bot lane because they got Caitlyn, Lulu, and Kog'Maw Janna. Krillov is also out and about. Even if Graves was here, I think this dive would have been really, really clean. Scout is now pushing mid lane, and like the counterplay for this is that you know, there's very little counterplay. Like if anything, C9 should be pressuring top tower now. They should be pressuring top tower and try to just counteract it, because there's no way C9 is gonna get pressure bottom. So what, in order for them to stop this tower from falling, you know, Ryze would legit have to just go bottom and sit here, and that's not gonna work out, right? That's not gonna be good in the long run. So obviously that's gonna be a really, really shitty play. So if anything, you know, C9 should be pressuring top tower, but you know that Contracts has a lot of gold on him. He has a lot of money, and it's not the best decision for him to just dive right now. So there's a lot of pieces that are not falling in place here for Cloud9. Ryze having no priority because of the base, Galio going bottom, and using the fact that he could push in the wave and he base first, and then EDG's bot lane pushing in this big time, and the bottom tower being very, very low. A lot of bursts coming in with the Thunderlord from Clear Love, and you can see that how they fall. They just die so fast. Like even though Smoothie ults them back, it's just Scout still gets his taunt off, so it's not like a super good ultimate. Like I think Smoothie's ultimate gets cancelled even. Like let me take a look. Like the taunt comes in, and then the taunt still lands. You just have to let go of that button and it's all good. Crazy stuff here. I'm just trying to figure out a way where C9 could actually, you know, maybe the issue is that Jensen has to go and get the blue buff. Because if he's in a case where he doesn't go and get the blue buff, then they could have just secured it without him committing. But just because he goes and takes the blue buff, he doesn't get priority on this one wave, and then Galio gets the free base, and then walks into mid lane. The main thing to consider here is that regardless of what C9 decide to do, the main thing is that they can't defend bottom. So the goal for C9 is to either pressure mid tower, because let's say the situation is like this, right? Galio doesn't take midway priority, he just walks bottom and just creates the same play. And Jensen is hitting the mid wave that is coming, and he's just doing the normal thing of just pushing mid lane. Even in that case, you know, EDG will still be able to make this play. So how do you solve this issue for C9? Like they cannot save or salvage bottom. Bottom was already very low, and bottom was getting pushed in, and there was no way to salvage it or get pressure through bottom. So the way you have to do it is either you pressure top side, you pressure mid tower. The moment Gali walks into bottom and tries to create something bottom, you just try to hit mid tower. That could be like a play. But as it stands right now, you know, sure, Gali could TP back into mid lane, and that's like the strength of Gali here, that it can be multiple places at once. But the main idea here for C9 has to be that if they can't get pressure through bottom, what do they pressure? And I felt like for a long duration in this game, they could have been pressuring the Maokai and potentially hit his tower or dive him and put themselves in a situation like this. They could have also like played around mid lane more heavily. It's been 8 minutes though, and we've been watching and tracking both junglers, and they've been doing their clears, and not a lot has happened from their side. And of course, you know, there's a massive benefit to having a pushing bot lane. You know, it just matters so much in the current meta. And EDG having the Galio in mid lane also allows them to do a lot more with a pushing bot lane. I think when Galio is in a team and he has a pushing bot lane, then he's loving it, you know. He's definitely having a good time, and he's super happy. The main thing that C9 could have done better in this situation, in this particular situation, they could have ran. They could just ran away, and then it would have been better. And then Maokai could have stayed, like Choga could have stayed top, and Contracts should have just went for the play where he's pushing mid lane or top lane. But once again, you know, he's coming out of the base just with his warrior enchantment. That was a big deal, you know. He can't just try to push top tower without buying any items. But of course, you know, C9 are definitely far behind now, and it goes to show how important EDG's pushing bot lane is when they have a Galio on their hands. And now the dive onto Maokai is coming. TP from Galio though. Caitlyn and Lulu are in position. Oh no. Okay, let's see how Mouse can survive this. Galio ultimate is gonna come in. Contract is very low. Maokai has no flash. Gets the Q up before he dies. That was a strange flash from Impact. That was a strange flash from Jensen too. Look at these look at this summoner usage now from C9. Yeah. Look at this. Flash. Into... Okay. So all in all, like, the window of opportunity died after TP came in, right? They burnt the TP, and then Jarvan found enough time to walk down into bottom. Like, Jarvan, it's not a lot of vision either, like, for C9. Like, they didn't spot Jarvan yet, and Contracts took his Raptors, and this was like a good moment to dive, but after the TP came in, like, it kind of fell out of favor. Jarvan is now in position. Contracts are no, like, C9 is not working with a lot of vision. They don't know where Jarvan is, but the assumption to think that Jarvan is not in position if Contracts is stealing his Raptors, then you know for a fact that Jarvan is not like that close. Like, you have some time to work with, maybe like 5-10 seconds before Jarvan is going to appear, right? And this matters a shit ton. They went for the bottom play, cancelled the TP, but now, like, the timing window where they know that Jarvan can't be bottom is all of a sudden gone. Then he shows up. Kalilov with his 80 jungle item is doing a lot of damage, and he's not the focus target. The focus target was Maokai. And EDG now with that double kill on bottom. Like, it's so important, you know, it's so huge, because EDG, the losing side should be bottom side. And while this is happening bottom, you know, EDG are just continuing their pressure up top side. It's going to be interesting to see when, you know, Mako has enough money for his Ardent Sensor. He's going to base and continue onwards. Let's view the situation again. Like, this was, you know, I thought it was a good Janna ultimate, but it was actually not that good. It was not that good. It was possibly the worst Janna ultimate that they could have hoped for. because the taunt landed, and I just thought he timed it very well, but the taunt still landed. I don't think you can Janna with the Galio that is Wing, because he can just release it while he's in the air and then taunt you anyway, because that's what happened. Like, you don't cancel Galio W with the Janna ultimate, so that's super important to think about, you know. And Janna should have been a bit more patient, maybe flash the Galio flash and then ult everyone out. But the best course of action would be that C9 run away, and the even better course of action was to kind of set up something else, because this play would eventually happen. And the best way to do that is to either pressure top side, you know, try to pressure top turret or pressure mid tower, because, you know, even though in this play Scout had priority, he didn't necessarily need priority to commit to a play like this. And in a case where he just walks bottom and does this play, what is the response from C9? It's absolutely non-existent, unless they pressure something else. They need to pressure something else to set themselves up for a trade, because they can't compete with pressuring bottom side, especially when they have the Kog'Maw Janna. Ardent Sensors are now finished. Graves is now playing towards top side. Cho'Gath with no TP. Mouse is also bottom, no TP. Impact is going to be forced to match here. EDG are just slowly chipping away at top tower, and that's what they need to do right now. Nothing else. $20 CS ahead. Pretty good. Okay, no flash on Sneaky. Whoa. Sneaky just got like pushed out. It's got pushed out by Lulu ultimate, out of the Jarvan ultimate. That's really sad. that sucks, man. That really sucks. Like, Sneaky was like, once again, Smoothie doesn't do like the greatest ultimate. Like, it ults, I guess it was fine. Like, Smoothie can't really predict the Lulu ultimate, and to be fair, the Lulu ultimate does in fact save Kog'Maw. I think it's pretty dead if this Lulu ultimate doesn't land. But to be fair, the Lulu ultimate needs to be used to cancel the Janna. So it's like weird situation for sure. Oh, sorry guys, that's my food. I need to pick this up. Alright, pardon me. Where were we? You know, a big issue for C9 was that they committed to the play bottom side, didn't get anything out of it. They went 2 for 1, and that was like their pressure point. And the more and more this goes on, the more and more like Graves is going to be more and more useless compared to Jarvan. The main redeeming factor is that maybe Kog'Maw is going to scale well into the game, but he's getting heavily pressured right now. And Caitlyn is still very healthy in the game, and Caitlyn, if she's ahead, she can still compete. She can definitely compete with the late game of Kog'Maw, especially when the rest of Caitlyn's team is scaling very well here. Hopefully, C9 is going to itemize like Ninja Tabi on most people, because that is where most of the damage is going to come from. But to be fair, like, Merc threats are also pretty good. Like, they have playing against Galio and Maokai and Lulu. Alright. The other way to deal with it as well is just to pressure through mid lane. I still feel like they have that option to like root him up, and then Graves just comes in and tries to hit him as much as he can, and then they just play through mid lane into top side. Because at this point in time, you know, with Riot's massive mana pool, they should be able to also push mid lane and get priority through mid lane to make sure that Galio can't participate aggressively in these plays. And right now, Contracts is just running top side, and I feel like it's just a band-aid solution. There's a lot of like junglers that do this, and I just feel like it's quite desperate. Sure, it delays the situation for C9 that they lose their top tower, but it just delays the inevitable. Because right now, you know, during this time where Graves showed up top, Ryze is losing pressure in mid lane. You can see that Jarvan and Galio are actually playing together. Sneak is taking a lot of damage. Whoo! And then, you know, Galio and Jarvan are just walking through here, and Ryze is not in a position. But to be fair, you know, this was another situation where Ryze just doesn't matter for Ryze. Holy moly. It's just, you know, it's so hard to deal with this. It really is. The only other option is to play into bottom side and then eventually put Kog'Maw and Janna in mid lane. Because Kog'Maw and Janna on the side lane, they are getting smashed. They're getting smackarooed. And as long as this is the case, you know, I was talking about how Contracts should play through mid lane, and it's probably true. It's probably true, because if Ryze has priority, maybe he can be the one participating in the play first, instead of Galio being able to do so. But the problem here was that Graves walked into top side, Galio had priority on one wave, and then he stepped into the enemy jungle. You can see it stepping into the enemy jungle. Jarvan is supporting him, and Ryze can no longer face check. Like, Ryze is completely cut off from the play. Jarvan and Galio are then committing into top side. Like, Galio is just walking there, and they're just going for the dive. They're just calling for it after EDG got this insane trade. Ryze is in mid lane, cut off, not knowing where Galio and Jarvan is. So in theory, like, if we go back, this one time when Graves showed up top, like right here, for this mid wave, if Graves just played into mid lane and just cleared the pink wards around mid lane, and instead of walking top here, like this would be the moment, then Ryze would have been the one with priority, and Ryze would have been the one with control over river, and all of a sudden the situation would change, and maybe they could be the ones roaming into the Caitlyn and Lulu, and then alleviate some pressure from C9. The other play that C9 have is to play into bottom, but, you know, playing into the enemy tank seems like such a shitty play to do, and the more and more I think about it, the more and more I like EDG's draft. You know, the Galio together with a heavy pushing bot lane just works out beautifully. And Caitlyn, I don't know, Caitlyn is having her place in the meta for sure. Like, all games we've seen Caitlyn, she's been picked in scenarios when she knows she can heavily push the enemy AD, and when that is the case, you know, when that is the case, it just seems so free, you know. The Caitlyn seems to just perma push, and that seems to be like a massive issue. Merc Thread's doing a lot of work, but so is the red buff, and the Lulu and the Ardent Sensor, and the state of EDG right now is crazy, crazy good. Maybe C9 can create something here though, like with some Ryze movement. I think Caitlyn can carry this though with the Ardent Sensor. They back off, they get the tower, and maybe now we'll finally reach a point in the game where C9 can relax a bit, where they put Kog'Maw and Janna in mid lane and Jensen on side. But EDG are so far ahead now that even that situation is not optimal for them. Oh, there's two ways to approach it. You know, either you play through mid and then you try to control topside river, or you play while the enemy tries to play into bottom, you try to play into bottom. Like, while the enemy team tries to play into your ED and support, you try to play into the Maokai and try to create something there. That's the only way to do it. And they went for that dive bottom, but it was, you know, they had a very little timing to work with, and then they used that timing to force the Galio TP, and after that they didn't really have information on where Jarvan was. And then they redove after Galio, cancelled his TP. Luckily, Galio has his ultimate to support that very fast in that situation. Jarvan appeared. Diving 2v3 is still like a bit risky, but then Galio has ultimate to support that in time, which makes it really, really difficult for C9. So once again, I feel like the issue, C9, they didn't set up the plays first into the enemy top side, and I think C9 could have done a better job with this. The main thing as well is like if that's not a possibility for you, in the current meta, I 100% support the idea of playing into bottom. It's just better, right? Ardent Sense of Support's very squishy. If pushing happens, then you can pick up like free kills because you see the AD and the support are going to be left all alone. And top lane is all about these tank picks, and with that in mind, these tank picks are very hard to dive. They're very hard to kill. They're very hard to pressure because, they are in their natural habitat in a situation where they're taking damage, so it's all good for them. Riftile just used to break mid tower should be very easy. Holy shit, the Kaelin trap is doing a lot of damage. Scout with the taunt flash on Graves just to humiliate him and his pick. And the main issue here, I'm trying to figure out who scales better into late game, but with this triple tank, Kog'Maw needs to do so much in order to kill all of them. And that was my ringtone, pardon me, quite dramatic. I'm just gonna close my phone. I think the doorbell from the food was enough. Was enough distractions from the game. Because even now, like on side, Galio is not going to lose against Ryze. Like, it takes some time. Like, Ryze needs Void Staff, and I don't know. I just feel like that Malzahar pickup would have been insane. I would have loved to see Malzahar in this game, and I'm just not too sold on the Graves pick. I'm really not sold on Graves at all. Graves did in fact like create some situations for himself where he was ahead, but that you could attribute to Clear's mistake more than anything. He was trying to take enemy blue buff in a situation where there was a big chance that contracts would be there. And Klerov was very predictable in his play, and he lost a lot of time, lost his own blue buff, but out of that, Galio made the play into bottom, so you could argue that it wasn't that bad of a situation for them, right? But then to be fair, Jensen didn't need to just take the blue. He could just stay the mid lane, taking the next wave based, and then just give up the blue, right? EDG have like the tanks as well to kill Nash quite early. Caitlyn does a lot of damage to it with her headshot, and usually the biggest issue for a lot of teams or team composition is that they can't tank Nashor at this point in time, but they have the picks to do it for sure. Hourglass now being bought on Jensen. I think this flash was a bit too early. Way too early flash. There's no way you're going to survive that if you flash. I see this so often from pro players where they just flash the EQ from Jarvan and expect to like get away. Like what is your end game here? Like you have the cleanse to get away from Maokai if he latches onto you, right? So if you're getting hit by EQ, it's not a big deal. Like Maokai will W you and then you can cleanse and then you can run away, right? But like that, there's no chance that you're gonna survive. You know, the big issue here for C9 is that Scout had priority from bottom, Ryze pushed in, and then Galio showed up, kept pushing bottom. Ryze had priority now to work with, but he used it to base. He goes into top side. They want to put the TP against TP bottom, but swapping these lane assignments gives Galio priority because he was already bottom and he was in the right lane assignment because he has TP. They want to put impact in bottom because of Baron, right? They want to put the TP bottom. Because if Ryze is bottom, then it becomes a bit too dangerous. Ryze is now topside and Galio has priority. Caitlyn is going to shit on Kog'Maw in mid, so we're going to assume that Caitlyn and Lulu have priority for the rest of the game. Galio is around, Impact is in bottom, he has TP but it's not good enough, and then like with the priority from mid lane, they're committing to this play. Like Galio doesn't really matter here as well, like Ryze was pretty fucking dead, regardless if Galio is here or not. Impact burns his TP, EDG doesn't, so I guess that is the positive side effect of Galio being there already. So Impact burned his TP. iBoy is just going for some autos here. Sneaky does a lot of damage though, like with Ninja Tabi as well. Like Caitlyn probably needs a rapid fire cannon. Also the big deal there was that Lulu didn't really speed or buff iBoy up here, and Sneaky gets his shield, and all of a sudden he can trade back. Ninja Tabi is a very cost effective item. It's important to remember. And Ginsu does a lot of damage with the W of Kog'Maw. There's a flash on Smoothie. Smoothie seems to be dead. Sneaky no flash here. Oh, Scout can probably reach him. Are you going for it? Oh, the W. Oh! Sneaky W. Okay. This game should be freaking over, man. This game should be really, really over. I really like the Caitlyn here. I really, really like the Caitlyn. I love the combination of Caitlyn Galio. And every game I see Galio in, he just seems so broken. He seems so freaking OP. Like, I'm sure Galio's win ratio is insane at Worlds. Like, I'm sure it's like 70% or something like this. And I think more teams need to start paying attention to this, because Galio as a pick, together with the pushing bot lane, seems to be next to impossible to deal with. You know, I gave C9 some options on how they should have dealt with this, by either playing through mid more heavily and controlling the river that was towards their bottom, and they could have also played into topside and tried to compete. They would obviously lose that competition in terms of pace, because Caitlyn and Lulu is going to push in or to chip away at the turret, while Cho'Gath is sure he's going to push in, but he's not going to hit the turret against the Maokai, right? And that is like the main issue. If they try to compete and play into topside and play into the fact that the Impact is pressuring, then, you know, diving a Maokai is not that convincing, and there's a lot of other issues too. See this team fight once again, like Sneaky got like kind of a good trade-off here. iBoy live stealing a bit with his Ardent Sensor. The root comes in, and all of a sudden the trap after the Maokai root lands on Impact. Impact gets red buffed and is constantly chased here. Ryze is also dead during this, right? So that's like the main thing. Like if Ryze was here, it wouldn't be that bad of a fight, right? But Galio TP's in. Galio's TPing in now, and you know, C9 can only run. Like if they're trying to fight this fight fully loaded, you know, then Galio would have just impacted it, and they're just trying to save people. The biggest issue here, they're just being outnumbered, and like they spot Galio top, but he has TP, and the Marco ultimate is pretty insane. Pretty well put here, and C9, just because they're outnumbered, just need to run. There's no other way to play this. Like the trade from Sneaky was good onto iBoy, but you could maybe call it a bait from iBoy. iBoy just survives, and he gets to chase the enemy Cho'Gath and farm some damage dealt. Baron is still up, so there's still some hope for C9. Maybe they can get a steal off with the Cho'Gath. Maybe they can create something of this fashion. Cho'Gath has no TP, so bottom wave is going to be pushed in by Mouse. And then he's going to be able to TP in. Galio is also playing around top side, and in this situation with C9 are grouped here, they need to make sure that they get mid priority. But it seems like they won't. Like C9 are completely grouped. They were grouped as 5 and they didn't go for mid priority. I think if anything, EDG can set themselves up for a Nasher here. C9 did get crab, and Impact is going to be stuck in bottom, so if anything, like EDG could Could pressure Nashor here. So instead of doing Nashor, they got the inhibited tower, which I didn't really realize. And the rest of this game should be pretty straightforward. 3 items finished compared to the 1 on Kog'Maw. That's the story of this game, you know. We have a 74 CS lead on Caitlyn. It's quite bollocks, man. So instead of doing the Nash to punish Impact pushing out bottom, they just got that Rift Herald. Not the Rift Herald, I mean Inhibitor. I don't know where I got Rift Herald from. I associate mid turrets and Rift Herald, I guess. Impact has that TP backup, so it's not too terrible for C9. But EDG do have that inhibitor in mid, but I don't think it's going to be too impactful. C9 just need to hope for a stall here, hope for some items to come in here for Kog'Maw so he can actually deal with these tanks very effectively and very fast. You can see the gold differential is heavily in favor of Caitlyn. She has 3,000 gold lead. Finally, the observer managed to press X. Let's see now if Sneaky is going to just... he needs to just buy Blader Rune King here. He needs to buy Blader Rune King and he needs to kill the tanks as soon as possible. And then Smoothie needs to make sure that he peels the Jarvan at a good time when Jarvan wants to come in towards this Kog'Maw and jump in on him and deliver the Galio on top of him. And this should be the goal here. As long as Kog'Maw can't get trapped and chain CC'd by the Galio and the Jarvan, then maybe he has enough damage to kill the tanks. The second problem is that Caitlyn is fed as a mofo, so she can also compete on very high levels DPS wise. It's also that C9 only have 1 tank compared to EDG that have 2 and Jarvan as a semi-tank. This could be a good situation. Cleo took a lot of damage, ult from contracts. Ocean Drake is gonna work, do some magic here on Clearlove and his Hunter's Potion too. Alright, Clearlove maybe can stay. Rapid Fire Cannon doing a lot of damage there on Jensen. He took a big hit. Big crit, big hit. Maybe Jensen got even trapped, it looked like. It looked like he got trapped. I don't think a normal basic attack is gonna do like 700 damage. I think it was a trap hit. The second issue for C9 is that their engage is pretty garbage. So it's not like they can just look for a fight and catch Caitlyn. You know, we don't talk about that at all. Like Caitlyn shouldn't be able to die. C9, like their best hope is that they land some random Choga Q, and you know that seems very unreasonable to hope for. The way they win the fight is that EDG engages, Kog'Maw does enough damage to take it home, but all these suggestions that I'm giving here is very unlikely. So let's see. Okay, random Q on K. That's something. iBoy survives with very little HP. This is the best fight C9 can hope for. iBoy is still doing some damage. Kog'Maw passive is not killing anyone here. Mouse is really, really low. And okay. It is C9 got a dream scenario here. Definitely. Dream scenario. Alright. Can C9 do Nashor off of this? I don't know. Caitlyn and Maokai are still pretty strong. There's no Kog'Maw for that insane DPS on Nash. Yeah, C9 are going for it. Maokai is TPing in, Jarvan is moving. Kog'Maw is nowhere to be found. Ooh, big crit. Redemption on iBoy. iBoy is gonna trap this shit up. Can Impact hit another random Q? Because that's what we're hoping for here. Can he hit that random Q? Smoothie dies. Caitlyn dies. Not too bad, not too bad. 1 for 2. Actually, it's quite bad. Never mind. It's quite bad. Kog'Maw is finally here. He's fighting against the people he wants to fight against. There's no Caitlyn, so Kog'Maw is very comfortable now. He can't really die. Alright, 1 for 2. 1 for 2. At least C9 tried, right? Let's take a look back and see what happened here. So It's a big issue here that Smoothie just takes a crit to the face with no reasoning at all. Like Smoothie just walks up and autos this one and takes 700 damage. So Smoothie is basically a dead target now. Mouse comes in from an angle, the traps land from EDG, and I don't know, there's no way that C9 can do this Baron. There's just no way. Like after EDG lands, like puts 3 traps here, there's no one that is going to be able to walk towards him. But he doesn't get the traps down, like he doesn't use them. I don't know what the cooldown is. Like it's really strange with Caitlyn and in spectator mode that you don't get to see how many traps she has. But I feel like if she places her traps here and plays like a trap god, you know, like makes a line and then plays towards that line, like in the sense that he puts a line here and then plays towards it here, I think it could have ended a lot better and he didn't need to die. Well, let's see how he died. Did he get he just got rooted from Rise, right? He just got rooted and eaten. Yeah, it wasn't that good from our boy iBoy. We can also go all the way back and look at the other fight. Well, right here, iBoy gets hit by the Choga Q and then Rise flashes in. Caitlyn survives with a sliver of health, so it's very lucky. We can take a look again, like Impact lands a random Q, iBoy gets hit. It's crazy. Like Kog'Maw just got taunted. I don't know if his auto attack mattered or like actually the damage. I feel like Sneaky could use his summoners a lot better here. Like if Sneaky uses his summoners better here, like better means actually just using them. Like he just get one-shotted here and he doesn't flash, and he could have definitely flashed backwards towards Janna's position. Like right there, if he just flashes. Like he's walking forward and the tunnel vision is real, man. The tunnel vision is super real. Like right there, boom. All the shit is flowing towards him, you know. This Galio is taunting from a distance because he's about to flash in. And this guy is also coming in with the roots. Sneaky flash should be right here, you know. He should flash right here. And then the engage from EDG is going to be a lot worse. He gets stuck, he gets killed, he gets shot down, you know. He gets smashed, he gets CC'd and bounced around, and iBoy even gets an auto on him, even though iBoy is really low on HP. And I feel like it could have ended a lot better here for C9. Like I feel like they could have just gotten Nash. It was Sneaky. He just gets that freaking flash off. And of course EDG, massive mistake from iBoy that he gets queued at all from Choga. Like Choga was woken up and iBoy was woken a bit up too far, and Impact is hitting magical Qs, and maybe Impact Qs is the way to victory here, you know. That is like a win condition for C9 right now. We talked about this Baron situation. Super Grease in the base. Graves is dead. Choga no ult. C9 didn't have a chance to base, but Sneaky is quite healthy. Caitlyn is also not here, and she is like the main bread and butter DPS when it comes to Baron. Well, when it comes to anything really. Here we have this situation once again, like iBoy getting caught, flashing from Jensen. Sneaky not flashing is a big issue there, getting stuck in the engage, and then he's getting bounced around like a freaking stress ball. And then Impact's in the mix, and Galio gets rooted under the tower. And then eventually Galio gets killed, I think, if I remember correctly. He gets killed. Yep. Then Jensen with the TP forces iBoy to flash, and then they get a kill on Mako. Alright. So bad engage from EDG. They had to do that to save iBoy though, so you could argue that it was worth it because of iBoy's big mistake. Like they had to kind of engage because iBoy was pretty fucked. And then they were quite lucky that Sneaky played bad, I feel. I think that's like the main thing. But now at this point in time, you know, they have to be in a similar situation where Impact just hits like a random Q. Impact shouldn't be bottom at this time though. Like looking at the map on this side of it, like Impact is bottom and pushing really the wrong shit. Like look at the minimap right now. Choga is all the way down bottom, and EDG have been surfacing around Nasher for a very long time, so you know they want to do it, and then you know they're in position to just do it. Impact is nowhere to be found. This makes the situation very awkward for C9. They don't know if they can engage, they don't know what to do, they don't know what to stop, and either decision is going to be bad. And I felt like Impact being bottom kind of made C9 lose all hope here to potentially defend Nasher. So I think, sure, maybe they would have lost the fight anyway, maybe they would have lost Nasher anyway, but you have to try, right? This was not an attempt at all because Impact was bottom, and I think that's also a big problem. But crazy. HQ won a game, EDG won a game, you know. NA is 1-9. If they lose this game, they are 1-9 this week. Holy moly. Is it 1-9? No, I think it's 1-8. Yeah, 1-8. Like T7 lost 3 games. And Immortal lost 4 games. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Baron now in favor of EDG. They got that rapid fire. They can hit that turret every now and then for free with the Kaelin. Looking like good shit. Galio is in mid lane with his ultimate ready to go. iBoy just needs to be a trap god. He needs to just place his turrets. He needs to call Metro Boomin and get some trap going. Open inhibitor mid. Easy target. Impact. Will he hit another random Q? That is the question. That's what we have to wait for. That random Q. All about that random Q. C9 though, you know, if we take a step back and think about the draft, you know, I think Malzahar would have been a lot better. Something that just can kill tanks, you know, and I don't know, maybe a Talia against the Galio. I think Talia could be fine as well. I'm not too happy about the Rise. You know, Rise got pushed in and he wasn't that impactful. NA Rise, boys. Like Perks Rise was something else, you know, but NA Rise is just not on par, guys. It's just not on par. iBoy is gonna just lifesteal up, and Contract's ultimate was completely useless. But let's be honest, Gray's ultimate is not gonna be useful regardless. Graves as a champion needs to create a massive lead for himself, and EDG were the ones with the massive lead. Oh, there's ooh. That was crazy. That was a 1000 damage crit. That is a massive taunt. Holy shit, Scout just grabs onto freaking 4 people. Scout with the redeeming game after the Lucian. You know, his Lucian mechanics are on point, you know, but he just can't seem to win a game on that Lucian. It was very similar in the LPL finals where he didn't win games on Lucian, if I remember correctly. iBoy. Boy. And there it is. C9 losing a game. Have to talk about the draft, you know. C9 have had success with Ezreal and Graves though. So it's like, you know, it's their thing. Like maybe meta-wise we don't think it's the best, you know, but that's their thing. That's what they're playing. They're putting their own flair to it. I think Rise as a champion didn't do much in this game, and I think C9 as a team here, they were playing reactively, and I think EDG's composition is so powerful. It's so strong because they have this heavily pushing bottom, they have a top lane that is hard to punish, and they have the Galio to support the plays that Jarvan does. And you know, when you have that heavy pushing bot lane, then that's what it is, right? That's how you punish this Kog'Maw, that's how you punish this Kog'Maw Janna lane. That's why I was so surprised in the previous game where SK Telecom had Varus and Lulu and didn't accomplish jack shit against Kog'Maw Janna. In this game, you know, sure, Caitlyn, you can argue that she's way stronger in the early 5 levels against Kog'Maw and can punish him a lot more and a lot harder, but But still, you know, SKT didn't manage to get anything. Like Kog'Maw was even winning trades at one point, and that was a big issue. EDG in this time, they have the Kayle Lulu, punished Kog'Maw Janna very hard, kept him under the tower, and then that one time EDG got priority in mid lane, they went for the play, they got 2 kills on bottom, they got the turret, Cho'Gath also TP'd, so he didn't get anything topside, and then we had the lane swap, EDG kept pushing topside, and they went for the push, and the main thing here was EDG was left alone 2v2, and C9 lost on the other side of the map where they should have been stronger. Like Impact at one point in the game had a 45 CS lead, and that was like Maokai being 50 and Cho'Gath being like 95. So that like speaks to itself that Impact did have he had a lot of pressure and it wasn't used for anything. And if you're going to play against this team comp and you're going to maybe scale a bit better with the Kog'Maw, then I think it's important that as a team you create something on the other side of the map, so there's some trade at all. But EDG were just making play after play. There was no trade from C9. They were trying to contest it, and they were just losing because they were trying to play like on their side where they had like a broken leg. You know, they were trying to kick with a broken leg, yeah, that doesn't really make sense, because if you try to kick with your other leg when your leg is broken, then you can't really stand on it to get any kind of force. So that analogy doesn't work. But my main point is that C9 tried to make a defensive play over and over and didn't work. And I think looking at draft, you know, let's say C9 scaled into the game and didn't get punished that hard. Even then, I don't think they have that big of a chance, because I don't think Graves and Rise belong here. I think Graves as a champion falls off, and you know, it's C9 style, whatever. And I think Rise, you know, I think EDG were happy when they saw Rise. Like Rise does fine into tanks, but I feel like if C9 prepared Malzahar, then this was the game for it. You know, Malzahar would be insane. Malzahar is a counter pick to Galio. He would have perma pushed. He would have been able to set up plays. And generally speaking, I think Malzahar is such an underrated champion, and he would be perfect against these tanks. You know, he would be perfect because he does a shit ton of damage to tanks. He likes to buy Leandries, and it would have been perfect. You know, percentage damage and all that jazz, and all these voidlings that are hitting melee targets would have been juicy. I think Talia would have also been quite nice. You know, Talia against Galio is also a matchup that works, and she can actually like support the plays that Galio is making by roaming around the map. And you know, C9, their issue that they're running into is whenever, you know, Impact has a very clear champion pool. Impact is a super obvious champion pool, and you know, that's about it. You know, Impact is playing all these tanks. He's playing them phenomenally well. Like, he's ahead every game on these tanks, and that is like fantastic to see, right? And it's just too little. It's just too little, because currently in the top lane matchup it doesn't make that much of a difference. Then it becomes all about bot lane, and Sneaky and Smoothie are not known to be like the best laners. And then what comes into question is how Jensen and Contracts play together. And they got that first gank on Galio, but there was not more action in mid lane after that. There was a lot of reparation plays where Contracts tried to walk in the top side, but then he just died or did nothing. And this was also an issue. And EDG finally delivered like a good mid to late game. So let's head into the next game. Let's see what goes down. And this was quite a fun one. We saw a lot of weaknesses from C9, and hopefully they can solve it coming into the next game.